round 2 and south to Putrajaya, Malaysia. This beautiful, created city, the perfect stage for the eyes of the world. The race, a year in the making. Time for Act 2 as the theatre of Formula E plays again. And the story takes another dramatic turn after an epic Chinese opening.
Qualifying about to get underway here in Putrajaya in Malaysia ahead of the second round of the FIA Formula E Championship. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is Dario Franchitti. And as you can see, it's a spectacular place for a race. The new city of Putrajaya was built from the top down as eco-friendly, and it makes perfect sense, therefore, for this Formula E race to take place around the streets. The world's first fully electric single-seater racing championship, taking part in its second race weekend. We started off the season in Beijing back in September. The race won by Lucas di Grassi. The highlight was a last corner accident between Nico Prost and Nick Heidfeld. And Nick Heidfeld has already been in the wars today. He crashed in first non-qualifying practice, but it really is a stunning location. There you can see the Prime Minister's residence over there on the right-hand side, the big mosque at the centre of this city, and Dario, it really has been a wonderful setting for the race.
It is, it's absolutely stunning, and great backdrop to the race, but more importantly for us, a good track, really good track. The drivers like it a lot of character to it, a lot of bumps. We've already seen a suspension failure this morning, I think caused by one of the large bumps, but that's part of street course racing, figuring out how to get over those bumps as well as possible. Lots of different corners, not just 90 degrees and hairpins and chicanes, a lot of character, and I expect a very interesting qualifying session.
And we will have a look at the track then. 12 corners, and it starts off with 2 long straights, and then it goes into the sort of tight and twisty back area of the circuit before they come out through turn 12, and the drivers have really enjoyed it so far.
They have, absolutely. There's some undulation there, you know, going out of turn 3 into turn 4. Turn 5, massive bump in the middle of the corner there. 7's got a bit of a dip before going up a hill. Tight hairpin. They're using a whole turn of lock, which means they've got to take their hands completely off the wheel, which is very, very unusual in a single-seater racing car. Turn 11 going into 12, unbelievably bumpy there, and if you go offline to pass somebody, that's where some of the problems have been happening. Bumpy in the braking zone for turn 12, you're turning and braking at the same time, so not many people troubled the apex there this morning, and a few people shortcutted the chicane in 1 and 2, so it was interesting to watch how intensity got ramped up throughout the session, and I think we're going to see it more in qualifying here. 27
degrees the air temperature as we get ready for action. We're still only in the morning here, but we can now hear from Matty Brabham, a newcomer to the series. He's racing for Andretti this weekend, and he's with our pit reporter, Nikki Shields.
Matt Brabham, welcome to Formula E. This is going to be your first race here in Malaysia. You've just taken the car in practice. How was it?
It was fantastic, yeah. The track's really, really cool. I was in Beijing, and this one looks a little bit better layout, so a lot of passing spots, and certainly a lot of places you can get in trouble too, so it's looking fun, and yeah, I've been enjoying it so far.
And obviously you've got the heat as a bit of a challenge, which you know, Charles Pic didn't have in Beijing. How are you going to cope with that today?
I think I'll be fine. You know, I grew up in Australia, so I'm kind of used to this weather, and this is not the first time I've been here before, so I've felt this humidity. And yeah, I came from Indianapolis where it was, you know, -10 and snowing, so I'm kind of happy to be here in the heat.
And obviously Formula E, you know, the driving is very different. It is all about power and battery management. What are you going to be focusing on to make sure that you can finish the race and, of course, stay under that 28 kilowatt allowance?
I think the biggest thing is just consistency and making sure I can get myself to the limit as quickly as possible. You know, obviously not quite as experienced as the other guys in the field, and I missed the first race, you know, because Charles was driving. So for me, I think it's just going to be consistency and hitting my marks and getting to the limit as quickly as possible. And I think that will just sort the energy out for itself.
Well, Matt Brabham, great to have you here and good luck. Thank you.
So it was Charles Pic who was driving for Andretti in the first race of the season, and he managed to finish in 4th place, which was a good result for him. His teammate Frank Montani finished in 2nd position. There's the view down towards the President's residence there, down at the far end.
The President's residence.
I know, it's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it?
Jack's rapping already this morning.
And here's a look at the Drivers' Championship standings after the first round. Well, it is Lucas di Grassi who is at the top of the standings. He picked up 25 points for the victory, and it was a victory that he inherited really after Nick Heidfeld came together with Nico Prost at the final corner. That's the Ministry of Finance on the right-hand side there. Now on the left-hand side, as we look at it, this temporary pit structure that was built, it took them 6 months to build it, 2 months to take it down. There's the bridge at which turn 10 is situated. This is the run down towards turn 3. And the architecture here in Putrajaya is really something impressive.
You know, Nicky was saying there about, obviously, power management is one of the keys to this series. The other one is momentum. With the power available to the drivers, you've got to be on the absolute limit through the middle of these corners to keep the momentum going. Now, the drivers talk about, obviously, regeneration, power management, but they also talk about momentum all the time, and they're trying to grab every fraction of a mile an hour through the middle of these corners. So with the relative lack of downforce and with the all-purpose tyre for both wet and dry, you're seeing these cars sliding around a lot. Combine that with the instant torque that the electric motors provide, and we're seeing some pretty leery moments out there. Great to watch.
So this is the run down towards the first chicane at turns 1 and 2, which is a reasonably regular chicane, I suppose. I mean, it's difficult to see the apex. Then we go down into turn 3, the right-hander, where Nick Heidfeld went off the circuit earlier. This is down towards the right-hander of turn 4, where they come over the crest and then dip down. A little bit of resurfacing work perhaps going on there on the apex of turn 4. And then we come up towards the left-hander of turn 5, which immediately goes into the right-hander of 6. That's the only this is the only kind of 90-degree element of the circuit, really.
Yeah, 5's a wee bit over 90, and it's pretty bumpy there too. As you say, 6 a much quicker corner, coming down into 7. 7's one of my favourites. Looks a really fairly quick corner there. Big bump on the way in. Wall comes right out to meet you there, where you're going to apex and then exit. Turn 8 is a fairly quick corner. 9 is bumpy. 9's more of a kink, quite a long corner. Reminds me of the old Detroit track actually, but very bumpy there, breaking into this tight hairpin.
Yeah, this is turn 10, and then we come out through turn 11, which is a bit more of a corner than it looks. It is quite tight, and then into the final corner of turn 12, and really it's the bumps on the approach to turn 12 that are going to, and already have, caused the drivers real difficulties, both in the sense of breakages and in actually getting the car stopped in time. We can hear from now Karun Chandok, the driver for Mahindra. He's down in the pits talking to Nicky Shields ahead of the qualifying session.
Karun Chandok, this is the 4th track you've actually raced on here in Malaysia. This is perhaps slightly more bumpy and twisty and turny than the others?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a wild ride, I have to say. Especially the last sector, all the way up from the hairpin, climbing up towards the last corner. I'm sure Dario would relate to it very well. It's a very American sort of wild bucking bronco kind of ride. But same for everybody. So you just kind of need to hang on to it. And it's been a messy practice session because we had a few red flags. So we didn't. I think we got 1 lap in quali more. Bruno got about half a lap in. So we're kind of going into this one blind, and you kind of just hope for the best and see how it works out.
And what position are you hoping for in quali?
I'll tell you what, I'll just be happy to get a time on the board without a mistake, and where did we end up, we end up. But again, we're in one. I mean, he's in the first group, I'm in the second group. So, I mean, if we're in the top 7, 8, I think we can do something in the race. So, but it's so easy to make a mistake on the circuit. I think you're better off driving at 90% or just getting a lap in than being in the wall.
Now, collectively, Mahindra have got quite a few million Facebook fans. Have you been asking them for support on the fan boost?
Yeah, I think there's been a bit of a campaign, and we've all been trying to get a bit of fan boost going. But I think the problem is most people are asleep at the moment, so with the time difference. So yeah, hopefully a few of them have woken up and voted for us yesterday or whatever.
Thanks very much.
If you are with us, thank you very much for staying up. If it isn't your time zone, if it is your time zone, thank you for tuning in anyway as Karun Chandok gets ready. So a bucking bronco ride of a circuit, he called this.
Yeah, it is more traditional. You know, the US street tracks have that wonderful character with the bumps and stuff. Some, Baltimore, for instance, were a little too much, but you've got those classics: Toronto, Long Beach, St. Pete, with really a bumpy surface. So guys like Servia are going to have a big advantage. Oriol's done a lot of street course racing. Matty Brabham too, as well.
Birmingham Super Prix was pretty bumpy. Lucas de Grassi tops the championship then after the first race of the season. 25 points after taking victory in Beijing. Frank Montani second in the standings with Sam Bird third. Charles Pic there in fourth place. You'll see Nico Prost there ninth. He picked up 3 points. That was for getting pole position, so you do get points for pole position as well. Stefan Sarazan finished the race ninth, is 10th in the championship at the moment. Takuma Sato also picked up 2 points for setting the fastest lap of the race, but he is not racing here in Putrajaya. He has been replaced by Antonio Felix da Costa, who couldn't race in Beijing, but is all available here for the race in Malaysia. And we've just got 4 minutes to go before the track opens, and the way it will work is that the guys are split into 4 groups in qualifying, and they'll all have a 10-minute session out there on the circuit, and then it's the quickest time claims pole position. So the first group will be Bruno Senna for Mahindra, Matti Brabham for Andretti, Stefan Sarazan for Venturi, Daniel Abt for Audi Sport Abt, and Nelson Piquet Jr. for China Racing. They will be the first 5 drivers to take to the circuit. We'll go through the rest of the groups in a few moments' time, but first of all, we're going to hear from Ho Pin Tung, the Team China Racing driver, and he's with Nikki.
Ho Pin Tung, we're just about to head into qualifying. What are your hopes to achieve in your position?
Pretty messy session this morning, free practice. Let's see, the track is very bumpy, and we've had some minor issues in the practice, but team sorted everything out, so I think we'll be fine.
And what about your teammate? PK had some problems with his suspension?
Well, yeah, he had a minor issue with the rear suspension this morning, which failed, and team sorted it out. He was very fast, so I think he'll be okay as well.
So the car's ready to go?
Yeah, looks like it.
Brilliant. And how are you dealing with the heat here?
It's pretty hot, but once you're in the car, when you're driving, you still got some air coming in inside the helmet, so it's not a big issue for me.
And in terms of minimising your battery temperature, are you going to be avoiding the slipstreams with the car in front, or do you not think it's going to make any difference?
Sorry, one more time?
In terms of the slipstream, do you think it's going to make a difference to keep your battery temperature cooler?
Yeah, I think it's more an issue for the team to manage temperature in the car than it's for the drivers to manage our own temperature. So we've tried different things in free practice this morning, trying to focus on keeping the battery and the engine as cool as possible. Strip sim will be a part of it, also the way, as always, that you manage the energy.
Brilliant, thank you, good luck.
Very experienced racer, Ho Pin Tung, 2006 German Formula 3 champion. He then raced in A1 GP, GP2 as well, Super League Formula. He's raced over in the States in GT cars, and you can see the air temperature here, only 27 degrees, but it is only 10 o'clock in the morning. It will get considerably hotter than that. The humidity, though, is at 82%.
It's a little humid, isn't it? Apparently not as humid as when the Formula 1 circus comes to town, but it feels pretty damn humid to me.
Formula 1 tends to come to Malaysia, the Sepang circuit, which in itself is only about 20 minutes from here, but they tend to come in sort of April, don't they? And you can see the Malaysian marshals getting ready as the fans are making their way into this action-packed 1 day of on-circuit action. And the first qualifying group will be going out in about a minute or so's time. There's some Mahindra fans that have made their way to the grandstands in the early stages, and they're on the big screen, and they're absolutely delighted with that as they get ready to watch the action. And there is out through the final corner, down over the start-finish straight. I'll just quickly take you through the rest of the groups then. So that first group we'll see out will be Senna, Brabham, Sarazan, Abt and Piquet. Group 2 will be Karun Chandok for Mahindra, Jarno Trulli for the Trulli team, Michele Ceruti, his teammate, out there as well, Frank Montani for Andretti, and Ho Pin Tung for China Racing. Group number 3 will be Oriol Servia for Dragon, Jerome D'Ambrosio for Dragon as well, Nico Prost and Sebastian Buemi in the 2 EDAMS cars, and Nick Heidfeld in the Venturi car. And then Group 4 will be Sam Bird and Jaime Alguersuari for Virgin Racing, Lucas de Grassi for Abt, and then the 2 Amlin Aguri cars of Antonio Felix da Costa and Catherine Legg. And whilst there is an advantage in going out later in the group, we saw pole position come from Group 3 last time out in Beijing. It's interesting to see what happens here, because a lot of it can also depend on, you know, yellow flags, red flags, because it's only a 10-minute session. If one person stuffs it in the wall, then your lap can be ruined. What we're going to see here, as we look at Frank Montani getting ready to head out in the second group, they'll do an out lap, a flying lap, a cool down lap, another flying lap, and then they'll come into the pits. So it's pretty 2 shots really.
That will very much be it. Things you want to watch for here, as you've said, if a yellow flag comes out at the wrong time, you've really messed it up. If you leave it too late in the session waiting for the track to improve and you don't actually get a lap in at all, that's another problem. And traffic, everybody's going to head out sort of at this, roughly at the same spot here. You want to be getting a clear lap, absolutely. The one thing they do have though, they don't have as much aerodynamic wake as maybe we're traditionally used to, so they can get a little closer without losing massive amounts of downforce.
So qualifying underway here ahead of the second round of the FIA Formula E Championship on the streets of Putrajaya. And through they come, through turn 3, and they will just be warming up the car to get ready for their first flying lap in a few moments' time. It's Bruno Senna for Mahindra, Matty Brabham for Andretti, Stefan Sarazan for Venturi, Daniel Abt for Abt, and Nelson Piquet Jr. there for Team China Racing. There is Michael Andretti, the man in charge of the Andretti operation.
Typical of 5 cars on track. They've got the whole track to play with and their whole line astern. Why do we do it to ourselves?
Is there any time you can gain by following a quick car in front? If you're trying to chase them, does that help you?
To me, it always unsighted me, especially on a street circuit. And there was obviously the wake. With the Indy car, was a lot more downforce in the wake of the car, so you wanted to get as much every fraction of downforce you could. So you might get a draft here. You might get a bit of a tow from the car in front. I'm not sure though.
So the cars are making their way around this 2.5 kilometer circuit towards turn 12, and then they'll turn it up to the full 200 kilowatts of power in the race. They're limited to between 130 and 150, but in qualifying trim they get to go maximum power and attack this street circuit. So here's Daniel Abt. He's going to be the first man out of turn 12 and across the line, flashing underneath the start-finish line and down towards turn number 1, which is chicane. Gets on the brakes, turns it in, and presumably with 2 quick laps you do a sort of full attack and then do a full attack, or do you go full attack from the start?
I think we were doing full attack from the start there. But as you gain confidence and you gain knowledge of the track, your next lap is probably going to be quicker.
He's just clipped the wall there on the exit, Daniel Abt. Has that damaged the car at all?
He's done a Scott Dixon there, he's done the toe link. Dixon is famous for breaking, I think he's damaged it, to be honest.
He does look like he's in looks like it's crabbing slightly, didn't it, as he made his way towards turn 5. We'll keep an eye out on that for Daniel Abt.
I'd say that's towing out, wouldn't you, on the left rear?
Yeah, it looked like it.
I don't think they've got time to fix that. That would take some doing.
Yeah, so under braking now for the right-hander of turn 7. Really having to work the car hard is Daniel Abt.
At this point, he's got to keep going, hasn't he? If he stops, he's going to have no time at all. Start at the back. They've put curbs on the exits, which is very unusual for a street circuit. And I think in a lot of ways it's actually when you touch the curb, it brings the car up into the wall.
Daniel Abt was a second slower in the middle sector compared to Matty Brabham as he comes now over the bumps into the final corner at turn 12, gets out onto the start finish straight, and we're going to see our first
look at it crabbing. The whole car is crabbing.
Representative lap time then, and it's going to be, as he comes across the line here just under the bridge, a 122.989 for Daniel Abt. Let's see what Piquet Jr. can do. And he's slower by 0.7 of a second. So now Daniel Abt will go into his cool-down run, as will Nelson Piquet Jr. But it's Matty Brabham who goes quickest of anyone, a 1:22.941 for the time being.
Good lap from Abt with a car that was, was clearly hurt. Very, very impressive.
Piquet Jr. still seems to be pushing a little bit, whilst Daniel Abt is really, look, you can see there as it comes over the hill, that car is not correct, is it?
That's slightly bent, isn't it? Oops.
After clouting the barrier there on the exit of turn 3. So it's Brabham, Abt, Sarazan, Senna, and then Piquet Jr. So I wonder if Nelson Piquet Jr. maybe took a different attitude into that first lap, because now he's pushing hard on this second lap.
Yeah, maybe he's going to do 2 laps back to back, I don't know.
See, here he goes, flying into that left-hander. These cars look spectacular around this circuit, through turn 9, down towards turn 10, and he's half a second up on Matty Brabham with a very strong middle sector.
He used every inch of road there, didn't he, coming out of the hairpin?
And now a bit of opposite lock almost as he came through the left-hander of 7.
This is where he broke the car last time. He uses a different line. He's a lot tighter than everybody else there.
Now into the final corner, Nelson Piquet Jr. looks like he's gone for his 2 flying laps, potentially back-to-back. Here he comes across the line. The Brazilian comes through now and goes quickest of anyone, a 1:22.620 for Team China Racing. And he is the quickest of the 5 drivers we've had so far, but has that now seen him use his 2 quick laps.
That
Here's a
might be
replay
it.
of Daniel Abt. That's where the contact happened.
He rode up that curb and just continued up. Bit of a flash fire there as he hit it too. You'll see. Oh,
Poof.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to leave a mark.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got the rest of the cars cruising around on their cool-down lap before then letting fly again to go for their second shot at getting the best possible time.
One thing to bear in mind with these guys, obviously the regeneration characteristics change as the battery depletes a bit from 100% to 80%. That does change quite a lot, and so there's adjustments to be made. So I guess 80% is maybe the sweet spot that they've got to get to.
Here's Bruno Senna down towards the first corner in his Mahindra car. Currently the slowest of the 5 runners we've had so far, a second off Nelson Piquet Jr.'s time. Daniel Abt is still out there. Credit to the German, sticking with it as Senna now comes into turn 3. He had a difficult, afternoon, I suppose, in Beijing because he was quickest of anyone in the morning. But now he has done the the best of anyone in the first sector, a 20.4 in sector 1 for Bruno Senna.
He was very good in China, no fault of his own. They'd obviously had some issues there, in mechanical issues in the race. Oh, yeah, he was stepping out a wee bit there.
Trevor Carlin checking to see whether he hit the wall or not.
Busiest man in show business, Trevor. He's off to Abu Dhabi for his GP3 and GP2 teams tomorrow.
Senna into turn 9. Then the hairpin of 10. And he is up at the moment. The back end steps out a little bit, but Matty Brabham is looking quite quick as well, although he's 0.4 of a second down actually in the first sector, Matty Brabham. In the second sector is a couple of tenths down too. So it's Bruno Senna who's looking like the quickest man out there. Under braking for the final corner, little lock up, and he's nowhere near the apex.
That was a shame. He really missed that, didn't he?
So
they're starting to use a tighter line at that last corner.
Across the line then comes Senna, and this, will it improve his time at all? It does. He still goes second. Here comes Matty Brabham. Daniel Abt goes quickest of anyone. Very impressive. Daniel Abt goes quickest. Matty Brabham didn't manage to improve because he had a pretty poor middle sector, but it's Daniel Abt who ends it quickest.
You've got a car there that's clearly damaged and he's doing great lap times.
But this is where it went wrong for Bruno.
Yeah, he's lost a chunk of time. He's easily lost, I would say, the time to be on pole position there. Look at him lighting up all that torque there, getting on the dirty part of the track.
And here's Nelson Piquet Jr. And he is slightly up on his time in the first sector, but he's slowed down now. So maybe there was a mistake somewhere out on the circuit. It'd be interesting to see how he has managed to do that, because well, now he's really slow, doesn't he?
Has he got a bit of an issue?
Potentially, because that is much slower than you'd want to be going. There is Stefan Sarazan, who is in 5th place, but Nelson Piquet Jr. had already done 2 laps. As Sarazan drops down the hill, the yellow flag is out, so I think that might be a problem for Nelson Piquet Jr. Everyone else is making their way back around, presumably to the pits, but I'm not quite sure how Piquet Jr. was going to have the juice to do another flying lap.
Maybe there was a problem. Maybe something that happened. So yeah, that's it really. Obviously with the yellow, they couldn't have improved their time, and that's it with with obviously the reds now coming out.
Yeah. So the red flags are out here with 1 minute to go. So that is the end of the session, and Daniel Abt will end this first group quickest. Nelson Piquet Jr. second quickest in that Team China car. And it's a very impressive performance that from Daniel Abt. There's Karun Chandok getting ready to go out in the second session. And it's going to be interesting to see what lap times we see going forward. Will the track clear up? That's going to be the big question.
Will it improve? Yeah, absolutely. A little disappointed from Bruno Senna there. Expected him to be a little further up, especially as, like we said, Daniel Abt's car was damaged. So bloody impressive performance from him. Maybe that's the new setup tweak. Stick a bit of toe out in the outside rear.
And personal fans necessary, as we have 27 degrees the air temperature. Group 1 will not restart, but everyone had finished their laps anyway, so that's not really of much consequence. With Daniel Abt the quickest man of anyone, then Nelson Piquet Jr. second quickest, a couple of tenths of a second behind. But for the likes of Matty Brabham and Stefan Sarazan, that immediately means that things aren't looking particularly strong for you, because you're already in danger of being well down the order, and it's a surprise for Matty Brabham because he was looking very quick in free practice this morning.
Does this mean that the app guys have found something, and so we're going to expect big things from Lucas?
Well, absolutely. When Lucas de Grassi goes out, hopefully with a car that's pointing in the right direction, he might be looking very, very quick indeed. As we have some more shots of this Putrajaya circuit, and well, the Putrajaya area really. There's the International Convention Centre. That is one of the centre points really of this magnificent city, about 30 kilometres south of Kuala Lumpur. 30-minute train to get you into the centre of Malaysia's capital, but this is where the main administrative centre of Malaysia is. The Prime Minister and the government are all housed here, and the fans are queuing up as well in these early stages of the day to have a look at the action out there on the circuit. So Daniel Abt then, the quickest of the 5 runners we've had so far. Bruno Senna third quickest, then Matty Brabham and Stefan Sarazan, all covered by just under 9/10 of a second in that first session. Nelson Piquet Jr. stopping on the circuit, and hopefully that isn't too much of a drama for his China racing car. And I just wonder if he's perhaps tried to push it too hard and run out of power, who knows. But he ground to a halt coming out of the hairpin, having been pushing hard for the third quick lap.
Yeah, his first split was good, wasn't it?
So perhaps he tried to push the boundaries of the maximum power a little bit too hard. There's Ho Pin Tung. He'll be out in Group 2, which hopefully will be getting underway in a few moments' time. There is Daniel Abt then, the quickest man of anyone in that first session, but surely that car will need a bit of work, and he did that right on, you know, the third corner of his first hot lap.
Yeah, it's not a big fix. If it's a toe link, even if it's a wishbone, it's not a big fix to do that. If you've damaged the upright, okay, then it's. But the mechanics will replace that well before the race starts, so shouldn't be too much of a problem.
The race gets underway at 2 o'clock in about 3 hours' time, and we can now hear from Daniel Abt then, the quickest man, and let's see what he made of the car's behaviour.
Daniel Abt, congratulations. Quickest lap in quali so far. But you made a bit of contact with the wall there. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a lot of confidence coming into the sessions because we couldn't do one quali lap in free practice, so I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I was pushing, and then I was just sliding a bit on the rear and touching the wall, and from that on, my steering wheel was completely unstraight, and I thought I had to stop, but I mean, what can you do? I just kept going, and I have no idea how I managed to be quickest in the session with a steering wheel completely to the left and right-hand corners being really tricky. But yeah, I mean, I think that's quite good. Yeah, I think we should be happy. I hope the other boys are not too quick now, and hope to get a good position, and then we'll see for the race.
Did you do any damage to the car?
Yeah, I think the left rear tire is not that straight anymore, so something must have been bent, a wishbone or something. Obviously, it felt like I have to turn left on the straight to not scrub speed, and it was really strange. Obviously, there is a damage, but yeah, good to still go fastest with that.
And obviously, your podium was snatched away from you at the last moment because you used over the 28 kilowatts. What are you going to be doing today to ensure that that doesn't happen again?
Well, there were a lot of things that went wrong. I think we learned from that. We know what to do better. I'm going to concentrate as much as I can, and yeah, just nail it.
Good luck. Thanks very much.
So Daniel Abt, how easy is it to drive around those problems? How easy do you go, oh, well, I've got this problem, I've just got to deal with it?
Difficult. Very, very difficult. I mean, I was really all about making sure the steering wheel was straight, because it's a point of reference for you. Any mechanic that ever worked with me, I'll tell you, there's a bit of a pain about that. But to drive a car when it is damaged like that, it's not going to track straight, even in a straight line. Each corner is an adventure, and to do that, very, very impressive performance.
Just having a little chat before they head back down to their garage. The second group in qualifying should be getting underway soon. There is Frank Montani sat at the wheel of his Andretti car as he gets ready to head out onto the circuit. Andretti and he's right down towards the end of the pit lane as we go green for the second group of qualifying. So just a reminder, this will be Frank Montani in the Andretti car, then it'll be Karun Chandok for Mahindra, Ho Pin Tung for Team China, and then the two Trulli cars of Michele Cerruti and Jarno Trulli. There is Ho Pin Tung, and then it'll be Trulli in front of Cerruti as they make their way out of the pit lane now.
It's become clear the session, the drivers are using almost the full 10 minutes, aren't they? Just with that sort of warm-up lap, using the minimum of usable power, quick lap, cool down lap, quick lap again. It's taken almost the full amount.
So Karun Chandok is out there on the circuit. His teammate Bruno Senna has been out already, and we can hear from him now.
Bruno Senna, that was a rather tough qualifying for you because you didn't really get to complete a full lap in the practice.
No, unfortunately I didn't get any. Every time I put the full power I got a red flag, which is what happened now in qualifying as well. On my best lap, which would be the third, Nelson stopped on the track and I couldn't get a lap in. So very disappointing, but you know, when you don't get preparation, then that's the story. But so far, we were P3. I know we're not going to be P3 for very long if everybody gets their laps. But there's plenty of chaos that can happen, so I'm hoping that the luck will be on my side this time.
You'll get past that second corner. Good luck.
Yes, his race ended at turn 2 in Beijing, Bruno Senna. And he'll be hoping for a little bit better luck this weekend. Here is Frank Montagny then in the Andretti car. Through the left-hander of 8 down towards 9. And then into the hairpin of turn 10. Swings it wide and tucks it into the apex. And he'll be the first man to set a representative lap time.
Frank's not really doing everybody else's technique of cruising around on the warm-up lap, is he? He's had the thing nailed from about corner 2.
Slows down to give himself a bit of space and then get going. He's under investigation, and here we go on board then with Frank Montagny across the line. There you can see he's got 96% of usable power remaining. He's running at the full 200 kilowatts and he's doing what, almost 200 kilometers an hour under the braking for turn 1. Oh, and he's missed it.
It's so difficult to catch that first apex, and you can see it's completely blind until you're right on it. Now Frank's going to cruise round, and as you said in session 1, Jack, happens early, you can cruise round and not do too much damage. As long as there's not a yellow or a red flag later in the session, it shouldn't hurt you too much.
So that means Montagny, well, it means Karun Chandok is going to be the quickest man out there at the moment. He's done a 20.9 in the first sector, which is not too bad at all. Here is the Mahindra driver heading down towards turn 7. The right-hand flick gets the curbs hooked up nicely, and it's a decent first sector for Karun Chandok, a 20.9, a 31.2 in the middle sector. So it's not going to put him right to the top of the timing screens at the moment, unless he can find something in the final sector, but they'll tend to do an out lap, a quick lap, a cool lap, another hot. Whoa, that was
nice.
big.
Wasn't that good?
I don't know if it felt good for Karun at the time, because that was a big opposite lock moment as he comes now into the final corner. Quickest time we've had then so far is from Daniel Abt, a 1:22.342. Across the line comes Karun Chandok. The line is well down by pit exit. Through he comes, and it's a 22.612, so only a quarter of a second slower. And so it's a pretty good first lap time for Chandok, as the Trulli cars are now running in formation. Basically, we're running with 4 groups of 5 drivers in order to give everyone enough space on the circuit. Big moment there for Trulli as he tries to get the car turned in.
He got it into the apex, though, didn't he?
Let's see what Jarno can do then. It's not been the best start to the season for the Trulli team, but as he flashes across the line, no, it's going to be a 23.614, which puts him 7th quickest at the moment. Michele Cerruti comes across the line a couple of seconds, but oh, it's all getting busy at turn 3. What's happened there? Frank Montagny looking like he was trying to pass Karun Chandok, and Montagny would have been on his quick lap. Chandok would have been on his slow lap.
Yeah, bit of arm waving going on there probably. That's one of the problems here when you've got such a speed difference between guys who are cruising round, trying to save as much power for that qualifying lap, and misunderstandings like that happen. And they're going to have to come up with a better system, I think, a better way of keeping everybody out of each other's road.
And Montagny now will have to cruise around again. So here's a look at it.
Yeah, there's a bit of waving.
There you can see, not very happy Frank Montagny. He was on his quick lap, having ruined his first quick lap, you see, and was running at the full 200 kilowatts of power, because you're only getting about 2 laps at full power. This is Ho Pin Tung in the Team China car. His first lap was a 25.5, which was a couple of seconds slower than his teammate Nelson Piquet Jr.
Look at that, just massive catch and some oversteer all the way in there.
Let's see what Ho Pin Tung's got in the tank then as he comes towards the line now. It's not going to trouble the front runners. In fact, it's a second and a half down then, and it's 8th place at the moment of the 10 runners. But Montagny We still haven't seen set a fast lap because he's been spoiled both of his laps so far, so he's still in recovery mode.
And he's under investigation.
Yeah.
Frank's not having a good session so far.
Here he comes then, in the Andretti car, winding up to start a hot lap. Gets the power on into the final corner. And here he goes. Third time lucky for Montani as he comes across the line. In the second group of qualifying here in Putrajaya, ahead of the second FIA Formula E race. Big lockup. Is he going to get that one stopped?
Oh,
just about.
Yeah, he overcooked the second part of that chicane, though. He's lost himself a little bit of time going in too quickly. Coming down here, coming down to turn 3 now. You'll see the bumps as he starts to brake. Chucked it in there a little bit. Good man.
On board we go again with Montani right in the nose cone, and he's 0.6 of a second down in that first sector. There comes the dial showing him running at the full 200 kilowatts of power, but he might, because he might get a second full power lap after this as well, because he's had to abandon his first two. He might get 2 in a row as he comes up past the slower car there on the right hand side.
Watch the bump here into 7 and then up that hill. That's actually quite a steep hill they're going up there, so the momentum through the middle of 7 is very, very important.
Oh, it looks so dramatic, doesn't it, with this nose cone camera?
You can really see the yaw with the oversteer, with the full torque of the electric motors. You probably see a little bit here as he comes out. Oh, nicely done out of the hairpin.
Karun Chandok, who's just behind Montani, is going very quickly. He's just on the fastest middle sector of anyone. He's second quickest at the moment, so Chandok is looking like he's going to go to the top of the timing screens. We stick with Montani through the final corner. Where will this put Frank, and will he be able to have another quick lap after this? That's going to be the question.
80% of usable power left, so let's see.
And so Karun Chandok has come into the pits having set the fastest middle sector, so he must have made a mistake perhaps in that final sector and decided to abort.
Not a great lap from Frank either.
And whoa, that's why.
That was the bit you said was spectacular.
Yeah. So Montani remains in 8th place. He potentially might have enough to go once more. This is Michele Cerruti, who's down in 9th place, 1.5 seconds off Daniel Abt. Jarno Trulli has just jumped up to second quickest though. So Jarno Trulli, second quickest. Very impressive run from the Italian as Cerruti gets out of Trulli's way.
Wasn't that the other way around?
And this is Jarno Trulli we're watching here, down into the hairpin. He's got the sort of red helmet, and it's Cerruti with the pink helmet. Okay, no, maybe you're right. There is Cerruti.
But you saw with Trulli, he was on the racing line,
yeah,
and then he had to get out of the way. That leads to misunderstanding. If you're cruising around, get the hell out of the racing line. There's no need to be on it. Be interesting to see if Frank's got another lap, because otherwise he's going to be starting really close to the back of the field, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. The man who finished second in the race in Beijing back in September.
He was spectacular coming through the field.
Oh, and off his Hopin tongue. That's at the hairpin. So he's lost it coming out of 9.
He lost the rear, maybe. Oh, look at, yeah, it's happened very early, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Very bumpy through 9. So let's see if he can find reverse. He's just got the wall, hasn't he? Just a little bit with the nose and the left front wing end plate.
And that's going to ruin Frank's lap.
Frank's got to be wondering what he has to do.
Well, he might still have, because that was his cool-down lap, I think. So he might get the chance to go flat out again, but...
Hoping Tongue's making the international sign for I need to push.
Yeah.
So that's going to mean the marshals on the track. Unless they can clear it by the time Frank comes back round, but I wouldn't want to be jumping over
Here
there.
he comes.
Oh, yeah, he just stepped out on the power, didn't it, through 9, and then compounded it getting on the brake pedal.
So that's the end of the session for Hopin Tongue, and he is going to end up as the slowest qualifier. The red flags are out, so Frank Montani will be 8th quickest out of the 10 runners we've had so far, and that'll be huge frustration for him, especially, I mean, his first lap was ruined because he went in too deep at the chicane, but then to have a red flag and the incident with Chandok.
Yeah, I wonder what will happen there, if there'll be any sort of investigation or anything, because clearly he was disadvantaged and held up, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it will be spectacular watching him coming through. That's the good thing for us watching this.
Well, he carved his way through the field in Beijing to finish in 2nd place.
You know, we've been talking about all this regeneration and power management, and we asked Frank about it yesterday, and just kind of went, yeah, well, you know, I just get on with it. I don't know if he wasn't wanting to give too much away or whether he really does, but whatever he did, it was certainly working in Beijing.
So Karun Chandok, third quickest out of the 10 races that we've had out on the circuit so far, but he could have gone quicker, and well, I'm not quite sure what that signal meant, but he looks frustrated.
That was like contact with somebody, or somebody bounced off him or something.
Maybe he ran across a back marker towards the end of his lap or something, and that's why he decided to come into the pits. Hopefully Nicky will be down there to find out. So that is the end of Group 2, halfway through this qualifying session now. We've had 10 of our 20 drivers go, and it's Daniel Abt who's the quickest man so far, a 1 minute 22.342, just in front of Jarno Trulli, with Karun Chandok in third place. And that's good stuff from Jarno Trulli, actually. It's nice to see that team doing well. They were late entries to the championship, and now they're starting to perform pretty strongly.
They really are. But Daniel Abt still P1 with that bent car.
Yeah, very impressive stuff after he hit the wall on the exit of turn number 3. And there you can see the Prime Minister's residence in the back of shot there. And Mr. Najib Razak, the president, will be making his way to the race later on. I've no doubt he might be here already, in fact. But we'll no doubt be having a look out for him as we see the first chicane that has caused people so many problems this weekend.
They've kind of reprofiled the way they're doing the corners now. They've kept the concrete walls going further down to, I think, eliminate the need for the sausage curbs, and that would stop the Heidfeld kind of car getting launched, as we saw in Beijing. So that makes it more difficult for the drivers to see the apex points as they approach them, but I would say a lot safer.
So there are the 10 riders that we've had so far. Drivers, no, I said riders, but look how close Trulli was to Daniel Abt there, only 0.05 of a second behind Daniel Abt. Then Karun Chandok in third place, Nelson Piquet Jr. fourth. But Andretti not having a great time out there with Sam Brabham and Frank Montani in 6th and 8th places. Hope in Tung as well, struggling. But we'd love to know what happened to Karun Chandok on that final lap, because he was the quickest of anyone. He was half a second up on Daniel Abt. Well, maybe now we can find out, because Nikki Shields has managed to hunt him down, and hopefully she'll ask him.
Karun Chandok, why did you abort that second lap, as it was looking to definitely be the fastest of the two?
Yeah, you know, I said I shouldn't be making any mistakes closing a lap. Well, I didn't listen to my own advice. I just got a little bit greedy on throttle coming out of the hairpin at turn 10, and the back end just started sliding and just nicked the wall, which has twisted the tracking on the rear a little bit, so I aborted the lap. It's a shame because I was half a second up, I think, at that point, so we could have gone P1, but, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So that's life, and now we'll see what we can do with the race.
You finished second in that group, and you're quite disappointed in Beijing with your qualifying result, but actually you still started 5th off the grid. Could the same thing happen today?
No, I think today we'll be further back. I think I was pretty rubbish, really. I shouldn't, you know, that lap was looking okay, but that's what qualifying's about. You know, you do one banker, which I did in the first lap, which was okay at 22.6 or whatever, which was a safe lap, and then the next one was the chance to push a bit more, because once you got one in the bag, you can take a few risks, but. Yeah, it was just on the edge. I thought I'd get away with it, but I think it's a little bit dusty on the outside. And it just slid in and caught the wall. So, you know, let's see. It's life.
Thanks very much.
A frustrated Karun Chandok then, and we saw him and Daniel Abt both clipping the wall, which sets the car all out of joint, and you end up with it handling like a marshmallow coming around the corners as it sort of...
A marshmallow?
Yeah, I know.
You were thinking shopping cart, but you couldn't get it out.
Yeah, that's the one, that's the one. I don't know why that came to mind, but Jarno Trulli looking not over the moon with that lap time, even though he should be pretty satisfied with that in second place. But how difficult is it to get the job done in these, what are essentially single lap qualifying sessions?
Yeah, most qualifying sessions are. The tyres are not good for much more than that. Or let me put it this way, there's a peak to performance, so you've got one lap a lot of time to get it done, and it's something you train for since you were a kid, so most of these people do it. Obviously circumstances sometimes conspire against you, but you go out there, get on it, get it done, it tends to take care of itself.
So we're getting ready for the third group, but before we go to the third group, we can hear from Jarno Trulli, a very strong qualifying performance from him, and he's looking good for the race later on.
Jarno Trulli, luck hasn't really been on your side up until now, but second quickest lap of the day so far. Could things be changing?
Well, on one side, I mean, a kind of a miracle if you look at that, because I was, yes, the quickest of the group, but I couldn't have the maximum power in the car because the guys from Williams, they didn't allow it. They were still working on the car when I was ready to go out. So basically, my lap time could have gone much quicker, having had the full power. So it's pretty disappointing to have so much lag, and these things shouldn't happen. So I just hope that the time is good enough for the top 5, but definitely this was not what we were looking for. We were working hard to rebuild the cars after the drama in Beijing. We were ready here, we were performing well, but without the full power on this car, it's, this plays a big role. So let's hope for the best.
So what power were you actually using in that qualifying lap?
Less than the maximum allowed. So this was not caused by ourselves. Unfortunately, people from Williams or McLaren, I don't know who, they were working on the car for whatever reason when it was time to go out, and we couldn't program the car. So that was not our fault.
Thanks very much.
Well, the bad luck seems to continue to follow Jarno Trulli then, and as he couldn't use the full power, but nevertheless a second place finish is still pretty decent.
If he's done that, not using full power, he's looking bloody good for the race.
Absolutely. So we're now in Group 3. That's Jerome D'Ambrosio for the Dragon team. His Dragon teammate Oriol Servia is out there as well. Then there's the two Edams cars of Nico Prost and Sebastian Buemi. They're two to watch out for, and Nick Heidfeld for Venturi. So this is going to be a pretty tightly fought group, I think, with these guys out on circuit. And there are the top 3 at the moment, and they have to stand there until someone betters their time, and then they get kicked out.
I think the Dragon boys have made some good progress since Beijing. They were struggling a little bit there, and they really, this morning in practice anyway, both cars look pretty strong.
Yep, they finished first and third quickest in practice this morning. Oh no, they didn't. They were second and fourth because Sam Bird got in there right at the end to go quickest of anyone. And this is Oriol Servia making his way towards the final corner. And is he going to be the first man out on circuit then? No, D'Ambrosio's up in front of him, squealing his tyres through the final corner. And then Servia gets on it, boots the power, and heads down the start-finish straight. The two Dragon cars running first and second on track. And we'll see what sort of first sector splits they can do as they flash past into the... Oh, and that's Nico Prost, who's
turn 3
come to a stop. Now, maybe he just couldn't get the car turned in. Let's have a look. And as he disappears out of shot there, yeah, okay, so he's gone in too deep and then he's had to reverse back.
Yeah, you can see the locked wheels there coming in.
And Alain, not too satisfied with that. And there are our top 3 at the moment. Daniel Abt, Jarno Trulli and Karun Chandok. And that's very, very deep in there from Sebastian Buemi. He's not going to trouble that apex at all either. So who's done a good first sector? Servia and Buemi had done decent first sectors, but Buemi's just thrown it away really in that final sector.
The track's so dirty off line 2, if you do that, it really will ruin your lap. So if he's close to it here, I think it shows that he's got the performance to challenge for the pole position.
So across the line now comes Sebastian Buemi, but he's 3 seconds down, unsurprisingly, after that. Oriol Servia has just come through the middle sector, about 0.8 of a second down overall on the pole position time, as the Edams crew are watching on. So that must have been a fast lap for Nico Prost when he went off. Here comes Oriol Servia into the final corner now for Dragon.
Flicked it in there quite nicely, didn't he?
And I don't think this is going to be quite enough to trouble Daniel Abt at the top of the screens at the moment. Let's see what he can do as he comes across the line. And it is 8th place for Servia, a second down on Daniel Abt's time. But now they've got one in the bag, maybe they can push a little harder on the second run. Out of the final corner comes Nick Heidfeld in the Venturi car. He's had decent sectors actually so far. This could put him towards the front as he comes towards the line now. No, only 8th place for Nick Heidfeld as well in the Venturi. So everyone taking it a little steady, just getting in a banker lap. Jerome D'Ambrosio as well down in 15th place as Chandok chills.
He's definitely had some issue, hasn't he? 49-second lap there.
Yeah. So maybe D'Ambrosio decided to do a second cool-down lap potentially. And now, is he pushing it? This looks like it is D'Ambrosio going into turn 3. Then we start to drop down the hill behind the buildings into turn 4. So maybe he's pushing hard now. And in fact, he's done a 20.7 in the first sector. So it looks as though D'Ambrosio is getting on it. The
Not
Belgian.
a bad first sector, was it?
No, exactly. And not the quickest we've seen so far, but it's matching with the likes of Karun Chandok's first sector.
Got a little oversteer there, just as the torque came in.
So this is Jerome D'Ambrosio we're watching in the Dragon car, down into the right-hander of 7.
Didn't leave much room there, did he? Oh, very nice.
This is brilliant. And he's about 0.3 of a second down, probably because he's driving awesomely as he comes into turn 10. But not the greatest middle sector in the world.
It was
but he's
good
really
though, to
pushing.
watch,
yeah,
wasn't it?
exactly. That's all that matters as he comes now towards the final corner.
I'm not sure his engineers will see it that way. Is he coming in? He's taking a very tight line in that last corner. But he seems to have avoided the bump, funnily enough.
So D'Ambrosio is possibly going to move up into the sort of top 7 with this lap time. Here he comes across the line now, and doesn't register on the timing screens for a moment, but there he goes, up into 5th place. So let's have a look at him coming down into turn 4. Bit of a lock up here. Cool, both of them.
Crikey. Bit of time left on the table there.
Yeah. On board we go with Sebastian Buemi. And he is on a hot lap. What's he done in the first sector, Buemi? A 21.2, not particularly strong, and that's not going to be any better, is it?
Crikey, he's got to hurry up here. He's not going to get a lap at all, is he?
No. This is very, very interesting moments for a man who many considered to be the favourite coming into this weekend. He and Nico Prost in those Edam's cars. This is Nico Prost then. And he has done a 20.5 in sector 1, which is good actually. That's a very good first sector. He's half a second up at the moment after the second sector on Daniel Abt. So the man who took pole position in Beijing is looking very strong here.
Lovely through the hairpin.
Nerves for Alain Prost as he watches his son come towards the final corner. Gets on the brakes, turns it into 12.
Lovely through there.
Yeah, hooks it up nicely. So surely this is going to be the quickest time of anyone for Nico Prost. The 22.342 is the time to beat. Here he comes across the line now, and it's quickest by a quarter of a second. Nico Prost goes to the top of the timing screens.
Very nice. Not nearly as spectacular.
And it's over for Buemi. Sebastian Buemi is into the pits, and that's the end of his qualifying run, and he is the slowest of all the drivers we've had so far.
Well, that's a surprise, huh?
At best, it's going to be 15th for Buemi on the grid.
Here comes Serbia.
Yep, here comes Serbia into the final corner.
Not bad, his personal best, but just not really spectacular. Not enough to challenge for the pole, I would say.
Here comes Serbia across the line. Where's this going to put him? Pole!
Just shows
Provisional pole position.
Brilliant.
Our commentator expert can leave the building now, I think.
I'm out of here, thanks.
Nick Heidfeld is looking quick as well, though. Can he challenge Oriol Serbia up at the top of the timing screens? Here comes Heidfeld across the line. Not good enough. 7th quickest. So Oriol Serbia moves into provisional pole position then for Dragon Racing. What an impressive performance from the Spaniard. Daniel Abt knows he won't be on pole. And Trulli and Chandok can now leave the FIA garage because they are not going to be in the top 3 positions either. But Oriol Serbia.
How about that? Nice job. We did say that the Dragon Boys had been making some progress.
And who'd have put money on him for pole?
I don't think any of us did we?
I did. That's the joke.
No, did you? You sure? Yeah, you did actually, didn't you?
So there is Nick Heidfeld.
I am going to leave.
Yeah. So Heidfeld couldn't quite get it hooked up in time then on that lap. And he ends the session 0.7 of a second slower than Serbia. At the moment, the top 10 are covered by less than a second. And we've got one more group to come. And it's a quick group as well. Sam Bird, Jaime Alguersuari and Lucas de Grassi, the highlights in that final group. The 2 Amlin cars will be out as well. But Bird, Alguersuari or de Grassi are all real contenders for the front row.
Absolutely. No, any of those guys. Obviously, Sam was quickest this morning. Daniel Abt's teammate Lucas de Grassi did we saw what he did with that bent car, so that you know, with de Grassi there, anything's possible, and Alguersuari, loads of talent, so let's see.
So there's the chopper shot of the cars making their way around the circuit and back into the pit lane. But what an excellent lap that was from Oriol Serbia, the Spaniard, 40 years of age. He and Jarno Trulli, both 40 years old, showing the kids how it's done.
Nothing wrong with a bit of age, see, bit of experience. What is it, old age and treachery, is that what they say?
Something like that as he pulls into the FIA garage now to be weighed. And what a good lap that was from Oriol Serbia then for the Dragon Racing team. And as we said, they were quite late to get in on the whole Formula E party. They joined early on, but it took them a while to get sorted.
Heidfeld's still out there. Has he done enough coolers? Did he made it through, but whether he's got enough power usable power left. Let's see.
He's done a 20.9 in the first sector, so Heidfeldt's still going out there, and that's not a great first sector, but it is doable unless he has taken the checker flag. And Nico Prost goes to the top of the timing screens. So Nico Prost does a 21.779, demoting Servia down to second. Jerome D'Ambrosio has jumped up into third place as well. So the lap's still going on here in this third qualifying group. As we watch Heidfeldt, he has still just about got enough energy going. The checker flag is out, but all these guys made it across the line before the checker flag, but Heidfeldt's lost it.
Ran wide in turn 9.
So Nico Prost has managed to jump to the top of the screens.
I tell you what, he has been so impressive.
Yeah, you have to say.
I mean, you can say, the incident at the end of the race was not his highlight of his career, I would say, in China, but his speed has been so impressive.
And there is Nico Prost then, the man who has moved back into provisional pole position. Servia's in the garage, so he can't challenge him, and everyone else is into the pits. So Prost and D'Ambrosio out there on the circuit have jumped up into first and third positions. The man who took pole in Beijing,
Daniel Abt, still P4.
Yeah.
So staying out there was really worthwhile, wasn't it, for him?
Yeah, absolutely. And a thumbs up from Alain.
The professor's happy.
A 21.779 for Nico Prost, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Sebastian Buemi is the slowest of all the qualifiers, 3.5 seconds slower than his teammate. Obviously that's not pure pace, that'll be problems that he ran into out there, but
he didn't really do a lap, did he?
No.
He did not get a clean lap at all. Yeah, he's not going to be a happy boy.
So into the pits comes Nico Prost, the man who has now moved into provisional pole position. He did the fastest middle sector of anyone. And there is Alain looking for something in the air. Nick Heidfeldt.
He's hoping it's going to rain, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Is in the FIA garage now. There's Oriol Servia, demoted down to second place. There is Heidfeldt then, and only 8th place for him provisionally, with still 5 drivers left to run. And the Venturi team have done a great job to get that car ready. Hopefully he'll have 2 cars by the time the race gets underway, because he crashed a car in free practice right at the end of the free practice session. But Prost, Servia and D'Ambrosio are the top 3, so they can tell Daniel Abt, you don't need to stay. Oh, there he goes, off he goes. So
the Venturi boys have been busy, haven't they? They obviously had to rebuild his car here at the track from the big accident in China. They had a fault with one of the other cars they discovered just after it, and they've now had to repair the accident damage. So the Venturi boys have been working really, really hard this week.
So we can hear from Oriol Servia. He did a pretty good lap out there, and he is going to be second quickest after that 3rd qualifying group.
Oriol Servia, you just had pole taken away from you from Nico Prost, but still, are you happy with second at the moment?
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, there's still quite a few fast guys to go, but as I said, I had a feeling we were going to be a lot better than Beijing, and it seems like we will. But it's just so hard. We only had 1 session, only 2 laps to try the power at qualifying mode, and you go out there and you have to almost gamble. Is it going to stick? Every corner, you don't know where to brake, where to turn, which makes it fun. I'm sure for the audience out there, it's quite entertaining to see us all sideways and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
You're definitely providing us with entertainment. Now, obviously, you've got to get yourself ready for the race in just a few hours. What are you going to be focusing on now?
Well, now speed is always important, because at the end of the day, one guy wins, and it always is the guy that makes the 31 laps faster. But we need to focus on energy. We only have a certain amount of energy to use through the race. If you push too much too early, you're going to have to slow down at the end. So I think we have a good strategy, but probably the other 19 guys are feeling the same way. So we'll see. By 3 o'clock, I'll let you know.
We've obviously had 11 weeks since the last race in Beijing. There's been plenty of data for you to analyse. How have you looked at that, and what are you going to be using that in today?
Yeah, we were really hard on our engineers, to work, because really with no testing, obviously the cars came from Beijing straight to here, so it's not like you can go anywhere and learn more on track, but you have all the data, and on this new championship with all this new technology, there's a lot to learn just from really digging into the data in the computers. And as that famous movie, the solution is in the computer. So we spent a lot of time, and we had a lot of meetings. Even if we're all around the world, we all met in London and met, and we had a lot of Skype calls, and it's what it takes, hard work, and I think it's going to pay off.
Also, since Beijing, you've been made one of the drivers' representatives along with Karin Chantuk. What does your role mean?
Well, it means I'm probably not the youngest out there if they voted for me. First, I'm proud that the rest of the drivers thought that we're going to do a good job. It's a lot of responsibility because we walked the tracks before and we try to make them as safe as possible. Considering you're in a street race, it's never ideal in terms of safety, but I've been doing Indy cars for 15 years and I have a lot of experience in street races, and I think that's why I can help.
Thanks very much, Oriol.
And Oriol could still potentially be on pole position because he's second quickest at the moment, but Nico Prost was handed a 10-place grid penalty for the accident with Nick Heidfeld at the end of the race in Beijing, so he could still potentially take pole.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, as we see Jerome D'Ambrosio out of the final corner. Oh, a bit of a smack there, Jerome. But he still managed to go third quickest despite that incident. But yes, so Nico Prost is the quickest man so far, but he has his 10-place grid penalty, which means potentially Serbia could still be on pole position. And there is Nico Prost. Seems pretty happy with his day's work, and well, he might be. So we're into the final group of qualifying. Sam Bird and Jaime Alguersuari, the two Virgin drivers. Lucas de Grassi for the Audi team, Audi Sport Apt, and then Felix da Costa and Catherine Legg. Here's a look at the results as it stands after the second group of qualifying. Nico Prost quickest so far, but he has a 10-place grid penalty to take. Oriol Serbia and Jerome D'Ambrosio then in second and third positions for Dragon Racing. Fourth for Daniel Abt. Fifth is Jarno Trulli. Then we've got Nick Heidfeld only able to qualify in 8th place for Venturi. Matty Brabham at the moment completing the top 10. And then down in 15th place, Sebastian Buemi. That's the surprise of the session so far, as he will be down in at least, at best, 15th place.
He's going to have a busy day.
De Grassi's been in the wall already, has he?
Yeah.
Is that car crabbing?
Yeah, big time. Big time. Looks like the right rear's damaged on that car.
So Lucas de Grassi in the other Apt car, and that's much worse than Daniel Apt, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not going to work. That's... God, the two of the big heavy hitters are going to be starting at the back here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, let's have a look at it. It's coming out of the first chicane. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah. That is a big one. So we go on board now with Sam Bird, and he has done a first sector of a 20.6, which is a reasonably decent sector one.
Coming through turn 6 here. He's very smooth, old Sam, isn't he? Deceptively quick.
Now through the kink that takes him into the right-hander of 7. Tucks it in nicely. He's coming up. It's on the back of Lucas de Grassi here. Oh, and he's going to hit the wall too. And Sam Bird is out. Furious with Lucas de Grassi, and that is the end of the session for Sam Bird as well. Red flags deployed here in Beijing.
Big hit. That was, yeah.
And that's crabbing.
That's, yeah. You can look at de Grassi and say, why didn't you just park it? You've driven around there. It's a load of blind corners, and this has happened. I can understand Sam being upset there. That's not the smartest move by Lucas, I would say, but it's his responsibility to try and get the car back to see if they can fix it. But
so that is de Grassi out of contention in this final group. It's Sam Bird out of contention in this final group. So when the red flag comes in, it's really only going to be Jaime Alguersuari. Now here we go. So here.
Oh, yeah, totally unsighted. That was not Sam's fault at all. A lot of damage there. A lot of damage to be fixed before the race.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest frustration for the Virgin guys. So, or was that? No, my apologies. That's Jaime Alguersuari, isn't it? So I thought we were on board with Sam Bird, but it's Jaime Alguersuari. So, yes, my apologies. It was Jaime Alguersuari that has gone into the wall. Sorry about that, everybody. But I thought we were riding on board with Sam Bird, but we were on board with Alguersuari when he came up to the back.
Yeah,
and so it's Jaime Alguersuari who has had the accident.
Doesn't change a thing, does it? He was, not his fault at all.
No. So Sam Bird is still out there running,
or not, as the case may be, in the pits now with the red flag. But what have we got here? 6 minutes 49. Clock stopped. Everybody should get a lap.
Yeah. So, but by everybody, we mean Sam Bird and the two Amlin guys. There is Sam Bird. So, sorry to disappoint any British fans watching. It's Jaime Alguersuari who has taken the hit. And there is Sam Bird making his way back to the pit lane. And he will come into the pits, and hopefully it won't take too long to clear that car, because Al-Ghashwari's parked it down the escape road.
Parked it in the escape road, but a lot of carbon fibre there. You run over that, you're going to get punctures, so they're going to have to sweep the track, and there's bits and pieces to be picked up. So it'll take a couple of minutes, but they've stopped the clock, so yeah, we should be seeing everybody at least, or the cars left in one piece, getting that at least an attempt at a lap anyway.
So there is Alex Tye, the Virgin Racing team manager there, watching on. And there are the 3 cars that are still going to be in contention for this final group at the entrance to the pit lane there. And there is Lucas de Grassi out of the qualifying session.
He's not had a good session, has he?
And that was a sort of incident we haven't seen before. The back end just really got away from him on the exit of the first chicane.
Yeah, did he hit the curb too much or something that set it off, or was it just the torque of the engine catching him out? I don't know, but he was properly sideways, wasn't he, before he'd even hit the wall there. I wonder if he'd hit that larger curb on the apex of what would be turn 2, the second part of the chicane, and yeah, big old impact. Wonder, with the old gearbox, I think you'd have seen some big issues, but with the new modifications to it, I wonder if we'll have to change that gearbox.
Yeah, they've reinforced the gearboxes as we look at Alejandro Agag and Frederic Vasseur having a little chat. Fred Vasseur, head of the Spark Racing Technologies crew who have built the cars. He's probably another one off to Abu Dhabi to watch his ART Grand Prix crew in action tomorrow.
He knows a lot about running good cars. The ASM Formula 3 team, ART now. Yeah, he's first class operations, absolutely.
So there's Jerome D'Ambrosio, and at the moment Dragon are potentially on for a front row lockout at the moment, because Nico Prost is the quickest man of anyone, but he has got a 10-place grid penalty, and it looks like they're going to weigh the Amlin Aguri cars whilst they're waiting. And yeah, so at the moment it's a Dragon lockout on the front 2. I can't see the Amlin cars challenging, so it might all be down to Sam Bird. So we can now hear from Jerome D'Ambrosio, the Dragon racer, currently 3rd in the timings, potentially 2nd on the grid. He's with Nicky.
Jerome D'Ambrosio, we saw you really pushing there in qualifying, and you managed to get yourself P3 at the moment. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, so far I think it's great. As you said, push hard. It's a difficult circuit, very bumpy, and so that's a real challenge. But for the rest, I think it was an okay lap. I touched the wall a bit in the end, so finished last straight line on 3 wheels with a broken suspension. But that's my mistake. So it's great. I think main thing, the team has done a fantastic job from last race. We've been working so hard with Oriol and everyone at Dragon Racing, and really improving. Of course, we still have work to do, but it's something happened. That's a crash, and so now it's fantastic, being here, and so far in top 3 is good.
Excellent. Thanks very much. We'll go and find out what's going on.
So that was Jerome D'Ambrosio a little bit earlier, obviously, whilst the accident for Jaime Alguersuari was going on in the background. And there is Lucas de Grassi sitting down and out of the session, and he is a very frustrated man, the man leading the championship.
Yeah, he's got his work cut out this afternoon, but that'll be very interesting for us sitting here and everybody's watching at home, and how these guys are going to come through the field, both him and Sebastian Buemi.
And Alguersuari as well.
And Alguersuari. Just thinking about the Dragon guys for a second, they've got Nigel Beresford, Tom Brown engineering those cars, 2 very, very experienced engineers, both worked for Penske many years ago, and they've clearly turned things around in a hurry.
There is the frustration then for Jaime Alguersuari. We were on board with it on the actual run-up to the accident, weren't we? And you could see de Grassi lurking, but Alguersuari presumably had no idea that he was going to be lurking quite so slowly around the inside of the corner.
No, you don't expect that. And unfortunately, when you've got limited laps, you've got to keep on it to that last possible moment.
Exactly. So out onto the circuit goes Catherine Legg, and makes her way around the right-hander. So it's Catherine Legg, Antonio Felix da Costa, and Sam Bird that are out on the track now. And they are the 3 drivers left that can depose Oriol Servia from pole position. Nico Prost, the quickest man at the moment in the times, but he has a 10-place grid penalty. As we go on board with the helicopter, as the cars make their way around the circuit, and they will only probably get one run at this, because some of them, or most of them, will have been ramped up to full power in those early stages of the first session.
I think it depends on how far around the lap they were, you know, that full power laps, to see whether they've got 1 or 2 laps to go. I think that was Sam Bird just coming through the exit of that hairpin there, winding up to start this lap.
Yep, so there is Catherine Legg slowing down as she gets ready to take the start, but here's Sam Bird then. He'll go full power out of the final corner and across the line then. Adjusting the dial as he comes down towards turn 1.
Let's see if he gets it into turn 1. That's whoa, very nice.
Very neat and tidy from Sam Bird. A mid-20 is a good first sector time. As he now comes down into turn 3, the 90-degree right-hander that takes him away from this main dual carriageway here in Putrajaya. Very neatly done from Bird. Let's see what he's done. A 20.580. That's a good start from Sam Bird, the quickest man of anyone in free practice.
Absolutely on the limit there.
He's absolutely pushing hard.
We used a load of curb. You heard the car bottom out actually on the curb there, so really using every inch of the track available.
So can Sam Bird qualify towards the front of the order? It's certainly looking strong at the moment. Under braking now for turn 7. We're going to get the middle sector split just after this left-hander of turn 8.
Oh, using all the road.
He's 0.3 of a second down after that middle sector, so that hasn't gone quite according to plan for Bird. He might still have another lap in this though.
Yeah, he just maybe overdrove it just a little bit. It's easy for us to stay here. It's so difficult to stay actually on the limit of the tyre and not go over it.
Down into the final corner of 12 comes Bird.
How bumpy it is on the entry to there. So difficult to stop the rears locking, especially with all the regeneration going on and everything in the race. That will be a real key.
So here comes Bird across the line. Is this going to put him up towards the front of the order? It's 4th quickest at the moment, but he might get another full power lap in, potentially.
Bit of a surprise that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we expected a little bit more potentially from Sam Bird, but if he does have another lap out there, he may have the opportunity to jump to the top of the timing screens. This is Antonio Felix da Costa in the Amlin car, flicking through the right-hander of turn 7. His first sector is pretty good actually, a 20.6. Middle sector is less so, a 31.6, so he's now just under a second slower than Nico Prost. So I don't think this is going to trouble the top 10 for Antonio Felix da Costa, unless you can get it really hooked up in the final sector. Bouncing over those bumps into the final corner at turn 12. And here he comes then.
Is he crabbing along there?
Maybe just a little bit. But the Portuguese, he can. Look, there's the wheel. So Da Costa has hit something as well. And as a result, he's only going to be in 12th place. How is the other Amlin car of Catherine Legg doing? She's just done a first sector of a 31.2. Oh, and that's a big moment coming into the hairpin. So that'll cost her a bit of time as well. Personal bests in the first 2 sectors. This will be her first representative lap time.
The Amlin cars do not look easy to drive.
No.
They look like they're a proper handful just now.
Into the final corner of 12. And out over the start-finish straight. As she may well get another full power lap out of this potentially. As she comes across the line. And it's a 25.823. And there's Mark Preston, the team principal, with a resigned look on his face there after that lap time. The guy in the background with the spectacles on is the team manager of the Amlin Aguri squad.
So let's see if here's Sam coming up to the last corner. It looks like he's going for another one.
Yeah.
This is it. This is it's either going to be Servia starting on pole or Sam Bird, depending on how this lap goes, I would say.
So the Englishman from Roehampton comes through the final corner, heads across the line, turns it up to 200 kilowatts and attacks this street circuit here in Putrajaya, down towards turn 1. Very neat and tidy.
Lovely load of curb there, that was good.
Oh, did he
bounced the
touch
wall.
it?
Yeah, but he might be all right. He got it quite square. He's probably trying to look in the mirror just now to see, did I actually hit the wall?
Into turn 3. Looks like the car's staying together reasonably well. for the time being, and he's about half a tenth of a second down on the best lap time in the first sector so far, but it was his middle sector before that let him down a little bit.
Looks like he went into turn 4 a little bit deep there, I would say, and just lost a little bit of time. We'll tell in a second here with the splits. Look at that, the torque just turning the car, lighting up those rear tyres.
So a 20.7 in that first sector for Sam Bird. Into turn 7 he comes now, having to correct the car on the way in.
He went in a bit hard there too into 7. Looked like he maybe lost a little bit.
He's less than half a second away, but that's of Nico Prost's time, but he still needs to make up a couple of tenths if he wants to get up there and usurp Oriol Serbia.
Not looking great, I have to say.
Down towards turn 12 comes Sam Bird.
But to remember though, he did bounce it off the wall.
Yeah, exactly. There's the Amlin Aguri car of Catherine Legg coming into the pits. Bird turns through the final corner and he's heading towards the line now. It'll be Serbia or Sam Bird by the looks of things on pole position here in Putrajaya. Bird comes across the line.
Serbia
remains in 4th place, so it looks as though Oriol Serbia will start this race from pole position. Both of the Amlin Aguri cars are into the pits, and that brings the end to our qualifying session.
1-2 for Dragon.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholls calls it.
So Nico Prost with that 10-place grid penalty after the accident in that he was deemed to have caused in Beijing means that he may have qualified quickest, but he will receive that 10-place grid penalty. So it'll be a Dragon Racing lockout on the front row. Very impressive.
It's a big progress from China to here. Huge progress. That's yeah. But we've got, look at the guys at the back. De Grassi, Al Jaswari, Sebastian Buemi, all coming through from the back there. Frank Montagny. It's
yeah,
I think it's going to be fairly spectacular, and it looks like it's so easy to overdo it. How easy is it to make a mistake? And that's when they're not worried about regenerating or coasting and lift and coast, any of that stuff. They're just driving. When you start putting all that extra workload on the driver, it's going to be, yeah, rather them than me.
And we've only got 3 hours to wait before the racing gets underway. It's 11 o'clock local time here in Putrajaya. At 2 o'clock local time, the race will get underway. So it's going to be very entertaining. There's no doubt about that. Here's a look at the end of qualifying, the classifications. Nico Prost, top of the timing screens, but a 10-place grid penalty means he'll start in 11th position. So it'll be Dragon Racing 1 and 2 on the front row of the grid. Oriol Serbia and Jerome D'Ambrosio. Sam Bird and Daniel Abt following up. Jarno Trulli will start in 5th place. A good performance from the Italian. Nick Heidfeld will start down in 8th position, ahead of Bruno Senna in 9th spot. And then 10th place will be Matta Brabham for Andretti. Antonio Felix da Costa managed to set the 12th quickest time in that session. Then Montagny there in 14th place, Michele Druti in 15th. But Buemi, Alguersuari and De Grassi in 3 of the last 4 positions on the grid. That is going to be some sort of entertainment this afternoon. That's certainly worth joining us for in about 3 hours time. And the race will be getting underway in Putrajaya, and there you can see some menacing clouds in the background there.
Yeah, if it rains, look out. It's going to be nuts. And there's a lot of work to be done in pit lane right now, because you've got the preparation, the basic race preparation that they do every week, plus a lot of damage to be fixed too. So very busy in the garages.
Especially because most of the damage we saw was just a little knock on the wall that sent the car out a bit. But for the likes of particularly Jaime Alguersuari, they're going to have a lot of work to do. So we can hear from Nico Prost, and he set the quickest lap time of anyone in that qualifying session. He won't start on pole, but he's nevertheless proving his pace.
Congratulations, Nico Prost. You've done it again. You've set the fastest lap time. Although, obviously, unfortunately, you won't be starting from pole position because you do have a 10-place grid penalty.
And I said I just have to stick it on pole so I can start 11th. So I did the best I could. But obviously, after Beijing, it's it's a different feeling. Beijing was first like a surprise, and it's the first race. But this one, after all I've been through since Beijing, is quite nice.
And you do, of course, get those extra points for the quickest lap.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to get fastest lap in the race, and that could be a strategy, just get the poles and fastest laps. But yeah, obviously, I'm really happy. Although in Beijing, I messed up a bit my second lap. The last one was really, really good today. I don't think I could have gotten much out of it, so I'm really happy with my performance today.
Now, you said in Beijing you also had problems with your power. Your power you lost on your last lap. Have you managed to look at the data and analysis and sort that out for this time?
Well, obviously the rules have changed since Beijing, so I don't think we should have so much problems here. But still, I think it's going to be an issue. It's getting warmer and warmer. So yeah, hope if we can get to the end of the race with no problems of reliability, it should be good.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So Nico Prost, who I think has impressed a lot of people actually, because he's not a slow driver, but people perhaps didn't rank him amongst the real top racers. But here, especially in qualifying and his race performance in Beijing, is really impressing people. We can now hear from the man who will start on pole position, second quickest in that session, but he'll be on the front row of the grid for the race in Putrajaya. Oriol Servia.
Oriol Servia, you said you've been focusing on this since Beijing and you were looking strong, and you're going to be in pole position.
It's fantastic. Not only pole position, we're front row, Dragon Racing. As I was telling you all week, I think we worked really hard, but I was sure everybody did too, but, we did it a little better. That's what counts, and we're in the best starting position there is to win this thing today, so we're very excited.
So how much experience have you got from street circuits, from Indy?
Well, as much as I've been able to, I've been racing IndyCars for 15 years, and we do a lot of street races, so going into the championship, I knew it was going to be, a strength for me, and it's not just me, also our engineers come from an IndyCar background, so, we've been doing a lot of street races, and it's paying off. I don't want to be too happy yet, the important part and the points are given now at 2 o'clock from 2 to 3. But again, I think we have a good strategy for the race too of how to manage the energy, which is the big key in the Formula E, so we'll see how it plays out.
Brilliant, good luck.
Thank you.
IndyCar experience is good, apparently.
On bumpy tracks like this, absolutely. You've got Oriol, you've got the engineers, Tom Brown, Nigel Beresford. They feel at home on these bumpy tracks. It's going to help them. And Oriol's thing about managing the energy as well, absolutely key. Going fast at the same time, that's obviously a given. And they've got to be very happy. They've made a lot of progress.
They certainly have. After they didn't, they might not have taken part in the first rollout of the cars. So it'll be Servia starting on pole position. Second on the grid will be his Dragon teammate, Jerome D'Ambrosio.
Congratulations, front row for Dragon Racing. What can we expect this afternoon?
Well, hopefully the same. Just finish in the same order. That would be really great. But obviously, I think we've improved a lot from last race in qualifying. We've worked a lot on the race too, so hopefully we can keep that. But that's what we're going to go for. Just as best as we can, as fast as we can, and saving the energy. The temperature is so warm here, so hot, so it's very high. So it's will be a challenge for everyone to keep everything cool. While being quick and regenerating and so on and so on. But that's the same for everyone. So we'll push hard as well in the race.
And obviously, as the conditions are very different, those last few laps are going to be crucial at keeping the battery temperature low.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these last laps are going to might be a challenge for some of us. Hopefully not us. We've worked for that, but again, no one knows what's going to happen really. So in terms of energy consumption, I think we get a good target. But then obviously it's all about the temperature and are we achieving that target. So hopefully we can be as good as in qualifying.
And what's your strategy going to be now that you're at the front of the starting line?
Me and Oriol are just going to make a block. We're just going to drive side by side for the whole race.
Sounds good to me. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Does that strategy ever work, Dario? If you just drove side by side for the whole race?
Didn't Ferrari try that at Indianapolis at the last corner a couple of years ago, or more than a couple? Didn't work so well.
So Oriol Servia and Jerome D'Ambrosio will start in the top two positions. This is the end of Nico Prost's lap from his onboard camera, heading up towards turn 12 and then heading out over the start-finish straight, and that was the lap that set him the quickest time of anyone. A really impressive drive from Nico Prost. He's going to be one to watch as well, because starting in 11th, he's perhaps got a bit more of a realistic chance of climbing up through the order. So that concludes the qualifying session here in Putrajaya. Join us in just under 3 hours for the second round of the FIA Formula E Championship.